Hi, and welcome to Classical Coffee for May. I have a favorite quote from the great conductor Leopold Stokowski. He once wrote, "Music expresses for us all the deepest, most intense yearnings of the soul." And I love that quote. I think it's very true, and I think music also can tell us a lot about ourselves as individuals and as societies. Music identifies us, and it is a mirror in which we can see the reality of who we are, as well as the possibilities for who we might become. Our season finale concert on Saturday is called The Music of America, and it's an exploration of how three American composers have used that mirror of music to reflect on the American experience and to help shape that experience. These composers span the gamut of American classical music. Edward Macdowell was born in Boston in the mid-19th century, well-educated in a prominent family. He trained in Europe, and none other than the great Franz Liszt championed his music. On the opposite end of the experience spectrum is Jennifer Higdon, who was born in Brooklyn, but she grew up very near me in Maryville, Tennessee, on a 40-acre farm. She describes her parents as hippies before the days of the hippie movement. They were artists who were more inclined to listen to Bob Dylan and Bob Marley than they were the other Bs like Beethoven and Bach. She taught herself to play the flute at 15, started studying music seriously at 18, and went on to study composition with some of our most important American composers. And she just won the Pulitzer Prize for a violin concerto. Talk about a real American can-do story. More about her and her music in a couple of days. Today and tomorrow I want to focus on the third composer on our program, Aaron Copland, who has been called the father of American music. Like Jennifer, Copland was born in Brooklyn, but unlike her, he stayed there and grew up a true New Yorker, absorbing the experience and atmosphere of the great melting pot. His best-known work, and probably the most famous piece of American music, the quintessential American sounding work, is his fanfare for the common man. Written in 1942 in the darkest days of World War II, Copland wrote something to lift the spirits of American people, to give them hope. This short 2-minute work captured the imagination of America. It became a symbol of what it meant to be American. It came at the end of nearly a decade of exploration by Copland into creating art music that spoke to people, that was accessible, that didn't require a degree in music to understand. His great ballet scores from the mid-30s like Billy the Kid, Rodeo, and Appalachian Spring opened the door to classical music for Americans. His music was fresh and meaningful and full of vitality, and it still is. His music grabs our attention and uplifts us still. When we hear his music, we recognize ourselves. On Saturday, we're going to perform Copland's Third Symphony, considered by many to be his greatest accomplishment. And it's based on that fanfare he wrote in 1942. All of the material of the symphony is derived from it, even though the connections aren't always immediately obvious to the ear. Tomorrow we'll delve a little bit more into just how Copland used that material to create what has been called the Great American Symphony. But I'm going to close today with a reference to a friend of mine. He is sort of a Copland's common man. He enjoys classical music immensely, even though he'd be the first one to tell you, I don't know anything about it. What I really love about him is that he is always introducing me to an interesting person or an intriguing organization. David, he says, there's someone I really want you to meet. I think the two of you will hit it off. So in that spirit, I want to encourage you to take the time to watch the linked video at the end of this segment. There is someone I really want you to meet. His name is Aaron Copland. Aaron Copland explored what it meant to be American. And even in the midst of the Depression, he found optimism and nobility, sacrifice and integrity in America. It's almost as if there existed out there in the ethers an unrealized template of the American experience. And Copland found that, he gave it a voice, and in the process, he gave us an identity. I hope you enjoy it. We'll see you tomorrow.